hashtag is Ghana Tonight. Let's hear from you. The issues that we're talking about here on Ghana Tonight on Facebook and Twitter. Let's get talking. Well, let's settle for Ghana Briefs. Teacher unions in education have suspended the payment of over 200 million cedis as subscription to the National Pension Regulatory Authority, NPRA. The unions took the decision after accusing the NPRA of failing to compel government to pay their over 400 million cedis arrears of their second-tier pension scheme.
Earlier on told the NPRA that if by February they don't ensure that the monies are paid, some actions will be taken. Right. And the people are saying that we should indicate to the board. We have done that. We are to communicate. We have not taken the decision. No. It is the prerogative of the board to do those things under the law.
They are not ready to ensure that government does the right thing by paying the 5% contribution of the 18.5% pension deductions that have been made to give up our tier 2, to invest it so that interest can be accrued, so that if we go on pension, we'll get something that we'll be happy about. We have also decided not to pay their charges again.
Former Chief Justice under the Akufo-Addo administration, Sophia Akufo, says it is time government invests funds earmarked for the Independence Day celebrations on meaningful projects that will benefit Ghanaians. Sophia Akufo, who is also the chairperson of the University of Ghana Governing Council, made the remarks on the sidelines of a public lecture organized to mark Ghana's 66th independence anniversary.
If they had selected, let's say, a deprived district, built a new school there, selected a ramshackle district hospital or health center and upgraded it, and then named it Independence School, Independence Hospital, to be good. I think that will be money better spent, if it is to be spent at all. This would inure to the benefit of the people directly, and it will also last. They're going to talk, march, eat, and come back, and that's all.
Vice President Mamadou Bawumia has cleared rumors surrounding funding for the renovation of the Kumasi Central Mosque. He described as untrue reports that funds were secured from Saudi Arabia.
When we started renovating this mosque, people were spreading rumors that funds came from Saudi Arabia. This is not true. We did it ourselves because we had a mindset of possibility. Anything we plan to do as a nation, we can, if only we believe.
We can do it. We can make it possible.
Well, you can find more on 3news.com. Now, the Speaker of Parliament has admitted 2 private members' motions on 2 specific issues of national concern. Stay with me. A very interesting development in Parliament earlier today, and the sponsors of these private motions have been talking about how this would impact on the demand for accountability and transparency in this country. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. We'll get into all of those details here on Ghana Tonight. We'll be back shortly.
Win your share of over 3 million Ghana cedis worth of prizes whenever you buy a bottle of Guinness, Star, or Origin. Dial *1000# to submit the code under the crown, and you can win cash, free airtime, and drinks. So look sharp. This advert is FDA approved. Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years. Not recommended for pregnant women.
Ye frame me dede. So mo se me gina ha. A Franco trading enterprise. On television papa pano. And I'm a good swami do one dance here. So what's the hotels, hospitals, schools, offices, apartments. Sorry. Now we'll pet TV papa pa ediabomu. A Franco television. A papa one ya brantia wesiso. Who pet TV diabo dema. And shababia. Se Franco trading enterprise. You were 24 inches for her, 32 inches for her, 43 inches for her, 55 inches, and I can see 65 inches. It's a show baby. Bra Franco Trading Enterprise. Franco Trading Enterprise. Television papa. I feel it.
Go back. Come quick, Kubani.
3FM Gobe Festival.
Gobe Festival.
Gobe Festival.
Gobe. 3FM.
Gobe.
Gobe. Go. Gobe. Let's Gobe.
Gobe Festival.
The 3FM Gobe Festival is sponsored by Malta Guinness, Bell Aqua, Bell Ice, Elegant Sanitizer, Gino, Fidelity Bank.
It's about to get more sporty with a touch of super entertainment with your favorite stars.
Times we play the quitting, get the Chaskele, the football.
Who should I take? Tony Cruz?
Why? While keeping you up to date with every trending issue in your world of sports on Warmer Plus.
But in comes Thomas Tuchel and everything changes.
And when he said he wanted to be better than me, I was happy.
Let's keep it more sporty and super entertaining.
Warm Up Plus now shows on Saturdays at 11 a.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Betway.
I'm seated in the confession seat and he's ready. He says,
I didn't call to tell him I was coming. This muscular guy was humping his wife.
Even as friends, we can have bro codes, but this one is your blood.
The moment they get married, make a conscious effort to draw that line.
Position the woman was given is an enjoyable one.
Why is she sleeping with another man on her matrimonial bed?
Either you're a beginner or you're a pro.
You shouldn't treat every lady as a cheater.
Oti Obia Sema, Ayasusuka, Miss Nancy Confessions on TV3.
Confessions now shows on Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. on TV3.
General Assassini, Miade Nidba Lolola. God bless our homeland Ghana.
I eat Ghanaian, I drink Ghanaian, I sleep Ghanaian, so I'm a typical Ghanaian and proud of it.
This week on Talented Kids, we celebrate Ghana's independence by taking a tour of Ghana and its beauty.
It was just a beautiful performance to watch.
How well do you know Ghana? Our contestants take us to the 4 cardinal points of the country, showcasing our motherland. Vote for your favorite by dialing *713*13# or download the TV3 reality app to vote for them. Talented Kids, free to play.
Freedom.
Talented Kids shows on TV3 every Sunday at 4 p.m.
Powered by Indomie. Sponsored by Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, Cowbell, Heaven Black Mosquito Coil and Insecticide Spray, Enapa Mackerel, Kiki Juice Drink, Flora Tissues, Top Choco, Coco Plus.
Well, welcome back to Ghana Tonight. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, and all across the world on 3news.com. A number of things happened with respect to this private member's motion for the auditing of the expenditure and other matters related to the cathedral, and then also the Domestic Debt Action Program. But let's start off with what happened with the cathedral. The Speaker of Parliament, Right Honourable Alban Sumana Bagbin, has admitted a motion to probe the National Cathedral project. Now, this followed the private members' motion sponsored by Minority Leader, and I'm going to put the names of the members of Parliament who sponsored this private members' motion for. That's what you see there, for the National Cathedral to be probed. You see the Minority Leader, Dr. Kesla Toforsing there, and Deputy Minority Leader, Emmanuel Makofi-Boa, and then also you have the Minority Chief Whip, Gavin Kwame Agboja, Bolga East MP, Dominica Yeni, Krachi West MP, Helen Ntoso, and North Tongue Member of Parliament, Samuel Okujetua Blakwa, who arguably, and as evidently, as a matter of fact, he's been the champion of demanding accountability for the National Cathedral and raising questions about the relevance of it while we are in a crisis as a country. So here's what's going to happen. The motion will see a committee constituted to conduct an inquiry into the National Cathedral of Ghana project and all related matters. The committee will subsequently make recommendations for the House's consideration. So the related matters, and you know, let's see what some of the related matters will be, okay? Because over time, we've seen some of the documents about the expenditure, how much money has been spent already. That's what you see there. This is in the 2023 budget when it was in the consideration stage. That 80 million was rejected by Parliament, so it wasn't admitted. Now, take a look at this. This is a document that was released when the establishment of that committee, the 8-member committee to probe the vote of censure, and then hearing the vote of censure against Ken Ofori-Atta, that was sometime last year. Now we got to know the breakdown of the amount of money that has been spent already on the National Cathedral, some 339 million cedis, and about 113 million out of the 339 million was paid to the architect for consultancy services and the design of the cathedral. So out of the 339 million, per the documents that were made available during that vote of censure period, we got to know that a little over 113 million was paid to the architect for consultancy services. And then also the last time money was released for the cathedral, according to this document, was the 31st of March, actually, 2022, when some 25 million cedis was released, equivalent of about $5.5 million at the time, at that prevailing rate. So all of these we will see according to the details of this statement accompanying the admission of the motion. All these will be probed. An inquiry is going to be conducted into the National Cathedral project and all related matters. So earlier we spoke to Samuel Okujetua Blakwa, who is a member of Parliament for the North Tongue constituency. He's led this charge for quite a while. You take a listen to him.
Definitely good news, but not good news just for me. It's good news for all lovers of transparency, of accountability, all lovers of due process. And indeed, this is a positive development which must be welcomed by all Ghanaians. And I must commend the Right Honourable Speaker Bagbin for the good judgment and the very patriotic and nationalistic discretion he has exercised in this matter. As you do know, he is the sole judge in the legislative arm who can take a decision on these motions, these private members' motions, when they are filed. And clearly, he has exercised good judgment in the national interest. You do know that this National Cathedral project has been really scandal-dominated. It's been scandal-plagued right from day one. This entire conceptualization is still a matter of considerable debate. Is it a private project? Is it the president's personal pledge to God, as he told the nation, and as his Attorney General told the apex court of the land, or it's a national project properly so-called. It is not clear. How is it that there were all of these withdrawals? Thanks to the vote of censure committee, we now know that 339 million Ghana cedis, such a colossal amount of money for a country that is insolvent, that is bankrupt, that cannot pay bondholders, cannot pay its loans, it's been downgraded by all the rating agencies. And if you look at the model that was adopted, a very costly model where there were so many demolitions, which has led to the need to pay compensation. There are some of the property owners who are in court demanding judgment debt. The analysis we have done, this project will cost the Ghanaian taxpayer in excess of $1 billion. That is, if you put the $450 million for the physical construction, and you add the consultancies, you add the exclusions. There's so many items that have been excluded. And as the project, remember, we've entered the 12th month of abandonment. If you look at the contract they signed, we are going to pay for all of these long periods of the project having been abandoned. When you put the compensation together, all of these entities who are demanding, compensation, and then need to replace all of these structures which were demolished. And I refer to the Malian ambassador's residence, the Judicial Training Institute, Judges Bungalows, the Comsys IT firm, Waterstone Realty apartment complex, the passport headquarters, the scholarship secretariat, all of these properties that were demolished. If you put the compensation cost, the replacement cost, you add it to the actual construction cost, this project will cost the Ghanaian taxpayer more than $1 billion.
There. And you see, already questions have been raised. We understand that the sponsors of this private members motion are asking for a televised hearing of this committee that is going to be constituted to conduct the inquiry into the National Cathedral. One other thing, though, is that they are going to make recommendations for the consideration of the House after all of this. And so it's going to still come back down to the numbers. Okay, so it's going to be a numbers game, as we've seen in previous instances, so much that even if the committee makes sound recommendations about the cathedral, whether or not it should be continued, the construction should continue even this crisis period, they're still going to need the support and also allegiance of the majority, because it's going to come down to the numbers. We'll see how things play out in the coming days. But there was another private members motion as well that the Speaker admitted. And this time around, that may see the Finance Minister likely furnish Parliament with details of the ongoing domestic debt exchange program. You recall that the Finance Minister about 2-3 weeks ago was in Parliament to brief them. The likes of Mama Yariga and others asked further questions for some further and better particulars about the DDE to be made available to the representatives of the people. That became a matter of debate. So these NDC MPs decided to also get a private members motion admitted by Parliament. That's what you see there. For the private members motion to get the Finance Minister to bring the domestic debt exchange program in its full detail to Parliament, it was sponsored by, again, the Minority Leader, Dr. Kesla Tofosin, Minority Chief Whip, Gavin Kwame Agboja, and Boko Central MP Mahama Yariga, Bolga Central MP Isaac Adongo, a Member of Parliament for South Dai, Nelson Roxon Dafiamekpo. These five sponsored the private members motion to get the Finance Minister to appear before the House and give some detail. Already, we're engaging China to get them to also give us a hearing to restructure our debts, and then eventually have the board of the World Bank's, in fact, the IMF's hearing on this deal that we are seeking with them. So that's how things are going to play out in the coming days, and we'll see. Very interesting times as we speak at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on this as well. And we'll let our viewers know how things play out with respect to this particular, or these two private members' motions. But something of equal concern as well is the increasing cases of the Lassa fever. We have two critical health issues on our hands this evening. Now, the Ghana Medical Association is saying that 14 Lassa fever cases have so far been confirmed in the country. Now, this was also corroborated by the Ghana Health Service. So let's do this quickly. Dr. Franklin Siedu-Bekoin is the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, is connecting with us on Zoom. Thank you so much, Dr. Franklin Siedu-Bekoin, for your time. Let's have an understanding. How many regions have so far confirmed the cases of Lassa virus, or there's Lassa fever in there?
So as of now, we confirmed cases are from Greater Accra. But as I said, Central Region has one probable case. We are waiting for the confirmation. So if it comes, but then they are not anything at all. Let me say that they are not linked. They are not linked at all. What is good is I think we have a good laboratory network in the country that's able to confirm. Because if you look at the presentation of Lassa, it may present like malaria, fever, general bodily pains, malaise. So a person can take malaria. So if you don't have the capacity to diagnose, you'll not be able to diagnose Lassa. So I think that it's good that we have the capacity to confirm Lassa in the country.
Now we have an idea of how things are playing out. But while you put the measures that you've just outlined out there in place, for the members of the general public who are watching us right now, what should we also do to protect ourselves? So
I think that the main thing we want to stress is the level of cleanliness must be up there, because if you are leaving your on leftover food in your kitchen, you're actually exposing your house to possible infection with the Lassa virus. If your surroundings is not that clean, you are going to expose yourself to the Lassa virus. Then also, if let's say you're handling an infected person, you can also be exposed. So what this whole idea means is to improve on environmental management. Let's make sure that it is within the household and even on the outside. You cannot afford to be displaying like maize or food substances in your house and go and sleep. You actually attract rats, and they will come and infect you. So now there's no need to leave food in your kitchen. If you want to do it, then you need to make sure that it's well covered properly. And then also, what you want to inform Ghanaians is that when you have a fever, don't assume that it's malaria. It is not every fever which is malaria. When you have a fever, you want to ask Ghanaians immediately go to a health facility. One thing that we did at the early stage of the outbreak was to send an alert to clinicians or health workers. Doctors actually diagnose what is common. So if they are not aware that there's Lassa, they will never think about it. So we have sent an alert, and that also includes the case definitions that will help them to suspect Lassa and take samples if they think that you fall into that case definition. So that's also one thing that we're hoping that
you will be able to establish. But help me understand this. In fact, the Ghana Medical Association, for instance, advised adherence to protocol. That is, for instance, wearing of the face mask and so on. Wanted to find out what the Ghana Health Service also makes of this recommendation, because the culture of wearing face masks is gone. I don't remember the last time I saw someone wearing face masks in town. So if we have to wear face masks because of this Lassa fever to protect ourselves, what's the Ghana Health Service doing about this?
To be frank, I haven't seen the release, but I think that you can have inhalation also being a source, but typically the main one is by injection. So So I mean, let me say that the main issue is about making sure that your environment is very much improved. So the other issue maybe the medical association is talking about is about the IPC. You may have some of the cases in the hospital, and as you get close to them, there may be some aerosols that you may inhale by virtue of they being infected. So, like if you look at one of the cases, I think by virtue of the inhalation, the health worker got infected. So it's more of the hospital setting. Then you may need to make sure that you are fully protected when you are handling or managing such cases.
But I mean, you can understand why people would now struggle with this whole idea of it and going back to wearing the face mask, because we've had COVID, and we've had the Marburg, we've had monkeypox, we've had the avian influenza, and now we're dealing with Lassa fever. I mean, Dr. Frankenstein, what's happening? What's influencing these cases of public health concern consistently?
Okay, one, you see, there's a lot of interaction between humans and animals now. So, in the time past, human beings stay somewhere, animals stay somewhere. Now there's a lot of interaction between these two species. So it predisposes you to a lot of infections. The other issue is a lot of travel, a lot of urbanization. These are all factors that predispose you. Then also, when you have a very sensitive similar system, you see, one thing which is good about Ghana is that we are picking a lot of cases, but it doesn't get very profuse or profound. Because when you pick them early, you manage them early, you contain them early. So it doesn't go to that high levels. And I think that is a good plus for Ghana. Our system is so sensitive that even if it's okay, you pick them early and manage them. And it has become very obvious for Marburg, for monkeypox, and even this Lassa. I think that is a good plus. All over the world, we have diseases going on, but the issues are how early do you pick them. You can die, but you may not know what killed you. So I think that is good that our system is able to pick some of these infections and contain them.
I see. Dr. Frankenstein, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time on Ghana Tonight and the advice that you've given to the viewers as well. So we'll keep updating our viewers on the case count and what has to be done. He's the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service. This is Ghana Tonight. Let's stay with issues of health, right? Imagine visiting the grave of a loved one and seeing parts of the human skeleton risen to the grounds, surface due to the unkept state of the cemetery. And we see this everywhere. Many people say they are unhappy because it has become difficult for them to access the graves of their loved ones. These days when you go, you'll be lucky if you locate the grave of your loved one. Probably somebody else hasn't had his or her loved one buried on top of yours. So what's happening? My colleague Godwin Asedeba went on a daring journey to the cemeteries to expose a problem that many of us face. Take a look.
Sunken graves, towering grass, and a total neglect. This is the picture of most public cemeteries in Ghana. With these conditions of graveyards, how are people supposed to pay respect to their buried loved ones? I visited some cemeteries in Kumasi and Accra to see firsthand the shocking state cemeteries are in. Not just the cemeteries, some mortuaries are also in a horrifying state. When you hear the term paying respect to the dead, it includes handling the deceased with dignity and respect. But that is lacking here.
You are inhaling medicine, inhaling scent. I want to show you especially and take them down on everybody. I'm sure to the minister, you should come and see how Paul himself is at this place.
Death can be hard, But in Ghana, caring for the dead can make it even harder. Kumasi is the Ashanti regional capital, and the Tafo Cemetery is the biggest public cemetery one can find here. Some parts of the cemetery is so saturated with human remains that bones have been rising to the ground surface.
Some 2 months ago, a mass burial was conducted here at the Tafo Cemetery, and this you can see right here is a human bone. This is not the only bone you will find here. If you walk around, the number of human bones that you will find here, this is really scary. But the workers in here will have to be seeing all these things while they try as much as they can to do their job, but they are paid meager salaries.
It can get a bit scarier for some of the workers in here. What you can see in the pictures right now is a bone, and according to this man right here, is the thigh of the person who was buried here. With diminishing resources and the ever-growing population, conservation is globally encouraging people to embrace recycling as a remedy. Grave diggers in Ghana have been forced to do it because space here is limited. The graveyard have been grossly neglected. Aside from the unkept grass litter, sunken and broken graves are almost synonymous across the gravesites. The image of neglect is camouflaged by the beauty of the grasses. The abandonment here is glaring. Yet, these grave diggers are busy at work. They are used to the situation here for over a decade of working as grave diggers. Salifu Abu, 52 years, has been working at the Tafo Cemetery since 1997. His colleague, 55-year-old Kweku Echampong, has also been working at the cemetery for the past 11 years. Their job is a strenuous and life-threatening one. Any little blunder here, and one is bound to contract infections from bones of the dead that has been buried for years. They do not have the right protective gear to put on while working. This has also been worsened by poor working conditions. Employed under the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, they are both paid a salary of 400 Ghana cedis a month, but government still owes them some outstanding arrears.
Up to now, no pay.
Our pay is very bad. The month has ended, but we haven't received any penny. We are paid 400 Ghana cedis.
This one, up to now, no pay.
Married with 8 children, life hasn't been an easy one for Salifu Abu. He sometimes depends on loan, which is later deducted from his salary. What he takes home is not enough to feed him and his family for 2 days.
God takes care of us. There is no one to lead us address our grievances.
Out now.
A man was willing to assist us follow up on our salaries, but our boss told him to stop, so the man got angry and left. Till date, nothing has been done about our situation. Most of us depend on loans.
Some called the eco controller. On a second controller, the Anka, 10 Bianca, took it to Mamma Aquasoro. Your boss is so enjoy one jar. And a bonnet buffet or coil, and one loan, none over digits away under. The loan, but some sunny at 2 or 1.5 grand, there more on wagon, sir.
The mystery that comes with death, perhaps, makes gravediggers a mysterious group of professionals that many do not quite understand. As many of them will say, caring for the dead is a calling and is not a job for everyone. The fear of coming to close contact with corpses makes their job the least attractive, coupled with stigma and ridicule surrounding the occupation, unlike other professions where there's fierce competition.
I am surrounded by graves here at the Tafo Cemetery in the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi. And this particular one that has been freshly dug is for a dead body, obviously. It should have been dug to about 6 feet. But as you can see, this particular one is on the knee level, which is about 2 feet. What are the reasons why they wouldn't have to dig deep down, but to leave it just at 2 feet? We'll find out more.
The Tintin is 6 feet.
Okay.
Then they want to 6 feet. I'm the being who 6 feet.
We don't dig down to 6 feet level.
Block back 3.5.
This got a lot of reactions, and because it reflected the realities of many, many families who are going through this. I mean, imagine a grave digger, 400 cedis, that is even in arrears. You haven't paid them, 8 children. I mean, I'm wondering how they're living, but guess what? There's someone here to speak to all of that. Joseph Annan is the head of Cemetery Management and Control Unit. Is with the Metropolitan Public Health Department of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, AMA. It's a big man. Ms. Annan, good evening. Thank you for joining us on Ghana Tonight.
Thank you very much.
So you are the head, Cemetery Management and Control Unit. What's that? What do you do?
Yes, thank you for having me tonight on Ghana Tonight. And basically, it's about planning and managing the cemeteries.
Planning and managing the cemeteries.
The cemeteries to ensure that we have a very peaceful and dignified cemetery.
Peaceful and dignified cemetery, so that the dead can rest in peace.
Yes, resting in peace is subjective. I mean, it depends.
I see. Because, I mean, with what we saw, it doesn't in any way signify a peaceful and dignified cemetery. The evidence that was captured in that video, I mean, that definitely should be of concern to you. But also joining us is Godwin Asediba, my colleague. Daring went into the places where some of us, when we are driving, you even turn your eyes off the cemetery. But it's good to have you. Congratulations to you, by the way.
Thank you.
Great stuff.
Thank you.
I'll find out where you get the courage from. But, I mean, look, Ms. Annan, so because this is your job to make sure we have dignified cemeteries in the metropolis, seeing this, does it not tell all of us that you are not doing your work well, or you are probably facing challenges we don't know?
Yes, thank you very much once again. So as part of measures to curtail some of these difficulties or challenges, I assumed the head of the cemetery this year. And when I came in, I had to put in certain key measures to...
Like what, for instance?
For instance, you know, we have a system that we run, and it has to do with recycling of old graves. And that is an acceptable practice worldwide. And that is what we now doing. Prior to that, technically, we can say that The cemetery is full on technical grounds. That is, if we were to do systematic or chronologic arrangement of burials, then we will not have space.
I see.
But if we are to think of sustainability, then of course the cemetery remains a place that can be used over and over again. I mean, time alone will tell. And that is the concept that we are now using. And therefore, as part of my plan, which I intend doing, I intend putting up a memorial wall.
Memorial wall?
Yes.
Oh, what would that do?
Yes, so a cemetery is a place where people come and they connect with their departed. So there's that emotional connection. And therefore, when you come, and after a certain time period, you don't find your grave, you can now visit the memorial wall, and then you have that kind of connection. Now, this may be for a period of over 15, 20-year period, because recycling is an acceptable practice worldwide.
So I see. So what it means is that you can't stop the recycling of graves. Meaning, if my late father was buried somewhere in the Osu cemetery, we can't find his grave, right? You are saying the recycling of grave, burying someone on another person's grave, is an acceptable practice.
So yes, so let me explain.
Which part of the law says it's acceptable for someone's corpse to be dug, for another to be buried in there?
So the issue is, it's all about the dynamics of burial.
Dynamics of burial. What is that?
That is what I'm coming to explain. So basically, there are families that come in, and once a person is buried, after a number of like 10, 15 years, nobody comes to check on that particular grave. Even as part of maybe visit or maintain that particular grave. Now, wear and tear sometimes set in due to maybe geologic conditions and as part of that. But there are also families that care about their loved ones so much. So I believe that is a blessing. When you live well, your memories will be treasured.
See, that's what the issue is. So that those who care for their dead, they go and they can't find their graves. If the grave of someone is abandoned for 10, 15 years, 5 years, then nobody is coming to visit them, you know, then maybe you say the dynamics of funeral management or cemetery management, you can then, you know, recycle the grave, as you say. But in instances where, even after a year or two, some people go and they can't find the graves of their dead.
A year or two, it doesn't happen.
It's happening. Maybe you haven't heard. But
yes, but a year or
after
two.
this documentary, we have a lot. In fact, Godwin, I'll bring you in at this point. Yeah. This is something that some families have shared with you, right? That after a year or two, they go and
they go there and they are unable to locate the grave of their loved ones. It could either be their
or they are not.
They are unable to find, to locate. Yes, and usually most of them speak about the fact that most of the grasses have overgrown some of the grave tombs, and that's the reason why they are not being able to go deep down there, because they might be attacked by reptiles, it could be snakes, anything at all. But then the documentary also revealed how most of them go in there and they see human bones, part of the skeleton, you know, all over the place, and that sort of creates fear in them to also want to have the courage to go into that particular place. I mean, I might be able to go there, but it's not everyone. We've seen wide-ranging reactions from people, and they couldn't even watch the documentary after it was aired. Yeah.
And we saw that reaction from many people. But how many cemeteries did you visit in this documentary?
I visited about 6. But then I ended up highlighting only 3.
And which cemeteries were these?
Ashanti Regional Capital, the Tafo Cemetery.
Okay.
It's actually the biggest in the Ashanti region.
Right.
Then in the capital here, Accra,
okay,
the Osu Cemetery, and then the Awudomi Cemetery as well.
Awudomi Cemetery, Osu Cemetery as well. And these are places where many people can relate with.
Yeah.
what's happening in there. 6 cemeteries. What influences your courage to be visiting cemeteries? Help me, and the viewers understand this. Where do you get this from?
So
it's not the first time you've done something like this.
Exactly. If the viewers can remember, the first documentary I actually worked on was an investigative piece on the state of the country's morgues, and it highlighted more of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital mortuary, which was actually in a horrible state. You go to their cold rooms, you see how bodies are handled. It wasn't in a good shape. So it was a story I think we should bring out there, because for decades, a number of people had complained about how bad the place looks. You go in there, most of the workers too are not being served with the right PPEs to be able to work in a healthy environment. So then I felt that was something that should be highlighted.
I see.
Then it also brought about this particular idea to check on the cemeteries as well, because I used to live somewhere around Awodomi, and anytime I drive around, the place looked so bushy. It looked as though no one was taking care of the place. So I was like, okay, let's talk about...
You disagree, but you see, the evidence of what we have seen in the video and what families have shared with us, that's what we speak to. For us as journalists, we don't conjure anything. We speak to the realities of the situation. So what are you disagreeing with? Because I see you keep shaking your head in disagreement of everything that he's saying.
Yes.
Why?
So, you know, it is said that once you are from the womb, you certainly go to the tomb, and that is the final resting point. This cemetery, as we all know, is the major cemetery within the metropolis, and that is Awudome. And it has been in existence over years. Now, the key concept is for us to ask, sustainability is the way forward, because this is the metropolis. Land in itself is fixed in nature. It doesn't expand or decrease. And therefore, that is why I told you, once I assumed office this year, I'm now trying to ensure that we have pragmatic programs to ensure the safety and peaceful nature of the cemetery. One of the things that we are trying to do, I want to quickly highlight on some of the key points. So it has to do with, you know, when we watch critically, the walls, most parts are broken. And we've written to management. And management,
which management is this?
So AMA, the top, and it's on the drawing board. Very soon it will be fixed. We are also, I also...
If you say very soon.
Yes, very soon. Very soon.
How soon?
So I don't want to be, and I don't want to say it's in the pipeline, but it's going to be done.
So this is the work plan you're talking about. That's what it's on the screen.
Yes.
Right?
So if I should speak with,
it's not
so
very visible though. But
yes,
I see
but
adverts behind the walls.
So you can see adverts which you want to play. Sanitation is key. Then beautification. Beautification in terms of liaising with parks and gardens, so that we can flower. I mean, to enhance beauty around the cemetery. Then we have painting of the walls. We have, you know, construction of sanitation facilities, and we also have...
You see, these are very basic things, and in fact, you must be commended for even thinking about this in the first place. That's number one. But to the extent that the Awudome Cemetery, how old is it? Awudome is...
Time alone.
Osu is as old as I can remember.
Yes, certainly.
And all these years, basic things like toilet and urinal facilities, and you haven't thought about this? Like, why? Why?
Yes, that is what I'm speaking to now. That currently I'm the head. And have you assumed that role? That's the change position I'm bringing on board now.
But has it been difficult for you to get all those things done?
Oh, we hope to get it done. I mean, it's about my proactiveness, which I'm trying to work at it now.
But you see, before we need to understand the problem to even appreciate,
to identify the problems,
the solution that you are bringing. If we don't understand, identify, define, and propose alternatives and select the best alternative to deal with the problem, you may be on this path of hope, and hope has never been the basis for any policy formulation. You will be hoping, and it would never come to fruition.
It will come to fruition.
So it's fine. If it comes to fruition,
it must come to fruition.
We all do.
For the general good of the populace.
We'll be fine. But my concern is that,
yes,
to the extent that up until now, the problem is still there. Even if you assume office in January, we're in March. What has been done about these issues?
Which issue particularly?
Sanitation.
So sanitation is something that is routine. And when you visit the cemetery now, there is an improvement in terms of the sanitation level. It is very clean. You could see the pristine nature.
What do you mean?
Improvement in the sense that, you know, we talked about overgrowth of weeds. Currently, we're clearing the place, and you could see visibly graves. You can quickly identify these graves.
You clear the weed
yes.
When they overgrow.
So, yes.
But in there, the laborers are saying they have not been paid. The 400 cedis that you pay these laborers that you are relying on to help you achieve the objective of weeding, they have not been paid for months. What are you doing about that?
Yes, the issue of payment, I would like us to, you know, because it's still in the pipeline, it's not about they being paid, not they being paid. They have been paid, but sometimes it's the timeliness. It's the timeliness. Nobody can say that he's not being paid.
No, but the people said it though. It's not me.
Yes, he said it.
I think you heard it.
But maybe sometimes you expect your pay to come right on a certain date at the end of the month. But it doesn't.
I mean, your pay shouldn't delay
so
for months.
this is the thing. We have people who are on government of Ghana.
They have not been paid for months.
So let me explain. So we have two categories of workers. Those who are on GOG payroll, they have no problem.
Okay.
They are paid on timely basis.
Okay.
Nobody can say or point accusing fingers at.
I see.
So then those on IGF, they are also paid. Just that sometimes at the end of the month when you expect, maybe it's a week or something, everybody is paid. Everybody earns something. Everybody gets something.
That's 400 cedis.
Well, that one I cannot.
No, that's 400 cedis. You know how much you pay them.
Yes,
so
but
you should do something about it.
Yes.
So in terms of funding, the issue, a lot of people are talking about, so who determines the salaries of the cemetery workers? Because we've got messages in that regard.
So the issue of salary, basically, you know, government has its own, we have categories of workers, you know, right from management to operational to
so
then
this
to
one
lower
says,
level.
in Samampong at Medina, you know that in Samampong Cemetery, Medina, said they charge 4,000 cedis to the assembly for burial space. Where does the money go to?
So it goes to the assembly. It goes to the assembly.
Another cemetery at Ogbojo charges 6,000 cedis for cemetery space. 6,000. This is public cemetery.
Yes.
And then Nanaya also says, I paid 9,000 cedis 2 weeks ago. What's the standard price?
Basically, for AMA, it is not like that. And I would like to speak on the case of AMA and maybe a little bit on OSU. AMA, it's standardized. So basically, for you to acquire a grave space, it's only 1,000 Ghana cedis. And it is...
You are saying 1,000 cedis?
1,000, yes.
For a cemetery,
for a space, yes.
Which cemeteries are these?
This is Awudome Cemetery.
Oh, my brother, why are you doing this?
That is the reality,
no,
and that is the
not
position.
The reality.
That is what is within our fee fixing. Is 1,000.
That is what is within
and I want to
fees.
bring it to the public notice. That it is. That's why it's good to have me on board for people to be aware, and it's part of educating.
So which office should they come and pay the 1,000
So
cedis?
the 1,000 is paid at the Metro Public Health Department of the AMA.
Pay the 1,000 cedis.
Yes.
And they'll get a space.
Yes. Then when you are done with that, you now enter into the sexton's or sexton's office where you'll be allocated the space. Now, the cost of construction is 500 for you to have a vault construction.
So that's 1,500.
Yes, sir.
So by the time you're done with everything, how much are you looking at spending?
So the construction is 500 and it's standardized.
Okay.
It's standardized.
So
don't be worried. When other cemeteries are charging, you hear people, sometimes people also like to have fanfare around their grave. They come and they tell you, I want my grave tiled, I want to, put in tiles, I want special features and addition, and that may also inflate their, but fundamentally, that is what I want the public to know, that for AMA, it is 1,000 and nothing more, nothing less.
I think that you should...
You seem a little bit surprised.
I'm not surprised. I'm contesting this position because the realities are different from what you're speaking to. What families face and go through is different from what you are painting now. The experiences and the realities of people paying 7,000, 8,000, and 9,000 to secure, in some cases 10,000 to secure space in public cemeteries is a reality people face. So if you are the head, it's not just Awudomi, with all due respect. You are the head of the cemetery management in cemeteries in the metropolis, not just Awudomi. So I would want you, respectfully, because we're rounding up, to, if you say it is 1,000 standard, make sure that that is done, because it is not what is on the ground. Maybe you don't know. So I'll grant you that. Okay, right?
So no, I want to correct a little impression. So decentralization is now the policy going forward. Government has carved out various districts. So my responsibility actually rests within the metropolis, and it has to do with AMA.
How many cemeteries
So if I talk about AMA, I'm now talking about areas like Ashedu, Keteke, I'm talking about Okankwe South, I'm talking about Ablikuma South. Anyway, so that forms the enclave within the AMA.
But Godwin, so you got the Ghana Health Service and the Ministry of Health. And the Ministry of Health to react to this. What did they say?
So Dr. Patrick Kuma Ajiman, Kuma Abuaji, he made mention about the fact that authorities will need to be proactive to make sure that they do what they are supposed to do to avoid such things from happening. He made mention that it is unhealthy for you to walk around and be seeing human remains, resurfacing on the grounds. And Tina, the Deputy Minister of Health, also made mention that it's not right. It's not right for such a thing to be done.
Indeed. Anyway, so we're going to be on your heels to make sure that the Ghanaian people are served well. So, Mr. Joseph Annan, thank you so much. Head of Cemetery Management Control Unit, Metro Public Health Department. We have our Citizens of the Week, as we do at the end of every week on Fridays on Ghana Tonight. So these are the Citizens of the Week we're celebrating. And they are colleagues. Godwin Asediba, right here. Congratulations to you.
Thank you, Alfred.
And then also Komla Kluche, for the outstanding coverage of the Nigeria elections as well. Congratulations, Komla. So, gentlemen, fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tomorrow, you come to the Tetekwashi Interchange for the Gobe Festival. There's a full package of Gobe for you as your prize.
Yes, Mr. Annan invited as well.
Mr. Annan, you're invited to the Gobe Festival. Thank you. Thank you. On behalf of the rest of the team, I appreciate your time on Ghana Tonight. This is a conversation that's not going to end here. We will definitely continue it in the coming days. Have a great weekend. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Hustle every day, and we dey make 'em judge.